to deep left. Stewart is going back towards the corner, on the track, didn't make the catch. Ball hits the track, jumps into the seats, ground rule double. The Major League debut of Bobby Bradley is an RBI double down the left field line to tie the game at 1.
Bobby Bradley is a hot prospect in the Indians organization. You heard that first career hit. It came off of Daniel Norris of the Detroit Tigers, the Science Hill product. And he strikes out 8, but the Indians, thanks to, well, right there, you heard Bradley's ground rule double, his first career hit, coming off of Norris, and it would get a little bit worse from there.
1 to Plawecki. A swing and a chopper over the head at third of Castro. In the hole, backhanded by Goodrum. Throws the ball away to first, into the Tiger dugout. In to score is Kipnis. Bradley will now come home. Plawecki will go to second. That'll be an RBI single and a throwing error, and the Indians have a 3-run rally.
As it would come out, Norris, after allowing Bradley the hit there to tie the game up for the Indians. By the way, Bradley, 24 home runs this year in AAA. Okay, that's why people are so excited about Bradley. But then the Indians catcher, Kevin Plawecki, with the go-ahead hit there. That's what doomed Norris. He is now 2-6. He's lost 5 in a row, hasn't won in 8 starts. He did strike out 8, but that's becoming commonplace in baseball. And so the Indians, trying desperately to get back into the race that the Twins seem to be running away with, and then they kind of say, well, okay, maybe the Twins can do that. Well, we'll go to the wild card. What that, it's not that drama anymore. That's one of the things here. Prop bets create the drama? I think there'd be more drama without the wild cards, to tell you the truth. That's just my opinion and such. By the way, over the weekend, the Tri-Cities Otters, they're going on the road now from here out, but they played Virginia Beach United, forged a tie. The Otters having their best season ever at 4-1-3. It had looked like with 3 straight goals in the second half that the Otters would win, but in extra time, Virginia Beach was able to tie it up. So soccer fans, Otters still having the season of their existence. But, I say there's always a winner and a loser to a tie, so you don't need football overtime unless maybe it's the NFL playoffs or something. That was a situation where Virginia Beach defeated Tri-Cities 3-3. Thank you, Harvard Crimson, for the headline 51 years ago. Mentioning a little bit about the future of sports and all this NBA season, thank goodness, is over. I saw this. Of course, we're talking a little bit about UConn going to the Big East. Where will that go? By the way, talk a little bit about NASCAR here in this segment. But at 1, we will not be having Jerry Bonkowski. He couldn't make it. He should be with us on Friday. But we'll talk about the Sonoma race a little bit later on. But at 1, we're going to talk some hockey, what with the PK Subban deal and the Predators draft and such. Anyway, here's a situation that's come out. I mentioned, how to add value to the regular season. Now, I just mentioned baseball right there. Their idea is, we'll have a wild card. So even if the Indians are 10 out, they'll still feel like they can still be part of the season. The fact that now second place is almost as good, if not as good as first, and we've had plenty of second place winners of the World Series, whereas before, that was something that the other sports did. No, we have a true champion based on the regular season. Problem is the schedule isn't equal anymore in baseball. Look, I can see with the expansion you can't have 2 8-team leagues anymore where only first place makes it. This isn't the English Premier League. I get it. 4 divisions, though, I kind of think are fine. There should be some exclusivity to the postseason. Instead of a third of the teams making it, and a third of the teams saying we can't compete because we're small market. The NBA, though, maybe the, mediocre team of the division feels that they've done something if they finish in 8th place for the right to get swept in the first round of the playoffs by the Warriors or whoever wins the conference crown. Maybe that's what the feeling is, but you know what? That's very hollow. Now, once upon a time, there was a lot of parity in the NBA about 40 years ago, so they expanded the playoffs so that, the feeling was that they needed to do so. And you had champions that would win 30-odd games in a season. Not so much anymore. How to put interest into the regular season? Well, Adam Silver's trying some new things. I mean, Adam Silver wants to embrace the fan duel and the fantasy gambling, and we see where Major League Baseball now says, you know what, with here's one hitter, here's the next hitter, pace, we could make a lot more on our prop bets with our sport than, say, basketball, which could be, okay, what are the over and under that the Suns are going to score how many points in this quarter? That sort of thing with prop bets. But he's got an idea, this Adam Silver, that he's talking about. And this, I brought this up. This actually was Connor Grohl from last month. And he's got a point. He talks about a midseason tournament, Adam Silver, NBA. He says, look at the FA Cup in England, where you have a tournament, and it has not only the Division I teams, but the Division II. It has all kinds of teams coming in. Problem is, it isn't that good of a tournament. If you're not familiar, Division II is sort of the AAA of English soccer. I mean, imagine that. We're going to have the baseball playoffs. We're going to have the first place team, second place team, and the winner of the International League will also compete in the World Series. Yeah. I've never been that big of a fan of the World Baseball Classic. I've always felt that the players should be identified with their teams, which they are very little now, and perhaps the fact that they get traded around like lottery tickets and poker games or so is the reason why baseball lacks having a national presence and is more regional. I think that's the case. Anyway, the idea here, as we go back to basketball, is to have a mid-season tournament. There's a lot of talking about, is the 82-game schedule too long? Is it too monotonous? What do you do to a team like the New York Knicks who's going nowhere? What about all this tanking? What if we had a tournament? Thing, though, is, wait a minute, we're going to have a mid-season tournament and also an NBA championship? How's this going to work? What's this going to be? Who's going to be in it? Why do we need this thing? I mean, I don't know. It'd be one thing if we tried to scope away a few rivalries and we said, okay, let's have a best-of-5 series between, I don't know, the Nets and the Knicks, the Clippers and the Lakers. You tried to look for something like that. The Warriors and the Trailblazers. I'm thinking of geography right now. Of course, it doesn't exactly add up in every situation. Well, wait a minute. Do we want New Orleans to play Dallas and fight for Shreveport? Do we want Dallas to play Texas and fight for Texas? Wait a minute. Do we want Houston to play San Antonio? Wait a minute. Where does Oklahoma City come in all this? See how this can go, and all that if you were going to do something along the lines. What about international teams? Are they ready to take on NBA players? Well, it seemed like the international competition really did catch up to the Dream Team era in the Olympics, so maybe, but what does that do for the sport in America if, yes, international competition starts to beat the best and brightest in the NBA? Look, I understand they want to try to do something different. They want to try to do something other than a game in Memphis that another team is going to tank, that LeBron James may not show up for. I do get it. No, I really do. But the thing is, how is it going to work? That's the thing that nobody really seems to state, and if it is just NBA teams, it seems unsatisfying. Some talk about, why don't we incorporate the G League? Again, that sounds like, one of those exhibition games that the parent club would have to go to the minor league team and play so that the minor league team can sell some tickets. And all the stars sit, and there you go. I can remember the old Hall of Fame baseball game played in Cooperstown, New York. Who knew who won it? I actually remember that game very well. I could tell you some memories of the Hall of Fame game, but it wasn't broadcast, on TV. It wasn't really anything special. Maybe it was a good chance to see some of the stars or a major league game in Cooperstown during the Hall of Fame induction ceremonies, but, it was a chance for interleague play. Remember one year the Cubs played the White Sox, but what did it matter? And who outside of Chicago would have been interested in that? And shouldn't that game have been played in Chicago anyway instead of Doubleday Field in Cooperstown? The problem is, if the season is thought to be too long in the NBA, how do you cut it? If you do so, you lose TV revenue. You lose ticket revenue. And suddenly the players lose revenue. Maybe you do need the fear of losing revenue and cutting salaries to get the players to come out and play in that monotonous game number 47 in Memphis once again. Could a midseason tournament be the brilliance of Adam Silver bluffing? Who knows? But it seems a little likely because he doesn't really have a plan for it, and it just seems like an unsatisfying idea for a problem that really might not really be there. Okay, the star sits in the road game that doesn't mean a whole lot. Isn't that like the catcher sitting out the day game after the night game? I'm Marky Billson. When we return, Alex Doherty of A to Z Sports Nashville. PK Subban is no longer a Nashville Predator. Will that help the Predators? It certainly cost them some identity. Who's the star of Smashville now? Tri-Cities Sports Now.
1920 WEMB Sports.